Hey guys, today's June 13th. Tough day in the markets today, but let me go over the news with you. Today we're going to kind of just review the New York Post, which has a couple of funny things in it actually. One is the Democrats have finally decided that Joe Biden is not the best guy for the office. I wonder if any of the Democrats take any responsibility yet. I guess Ron DeSantis was in New York yesterday, and he was on the Chelsea Piers, which is interesting because the Chelsea Piers was in the 60s and 70s where most of the gay men would come together, and it would be like a place where they, did what they did. So anyway, DeSantis was there yesterday, and there were protesters from the gay community that was really upset because it's Gay Pride Month, and they thought it was wrong that DeSantis was there, even though his bill does not say "don't say gay." They're truly mixing up the information. Let me see what else we got here. Basically, again, the Democrats are just afraid that Biden's not any good because the gas prices are so high and inflation. People should realize that it's not Biden, it's his staff and his ideology and all the people that are for it. So you can't really blame Joe Biden by himself. You have to blame everybody on his staff. I guess there's a story here about wages for young people working in the summer being as high as $53 for a basketball coach. Young 17-year-old kid getting $53 an hour to coach basketball for little kids. It's totally crazy. Pretty big gun compromise this week, which is good. But I want to point something out. The compromise basically was saying that mental illness should be considered. You should be able to flag someone who's mentally ill and then remove their weapons. That's all been presented by the Republicans previously, but the Democrats refused to go along with it because they wanted to not have guns, military type guns. So they really twist the story totally. The gun compromise is really approval of what the Republicans had called for all along, and that is mental health checks and treatment. We take a look at Chris Murphy, the guy from Connecticut, Senator Chris Murphy. He's from that district, and he wouldn't let this flagging happen. He was just taking the hard line on trying to get most of everything approved, and it's just totally wrong. So it's good news for everybody that if you see somebody crazy and they've got guns, you might want to intervene with them before something happens. Makes total sense. For this airplane going up to Detroit, if you have a bag you don't want to lift up into the overhead bin, struggle to find a spot. There's a story in New York about some guy who was let out of jail, got an easy sentence, basically, for a prior knife account, and then he comes out again and takes a knife and slashes people. The more bags we check, the quicker. Totally messed up. Quick question, the boarding process will be, so please come see me if you have an item you would like to check in. On this aircraft, we normally have to check in a minimum of 25 bags. A British soldier and his son, or actually a British soldier's son, and who was a British soldier, got killed in Donbass fighting, considered a hero, which I guess we're touching on Ukraine and the war there. Sorry for the noise above us, but there's nothing I can do. There was a young man killed in Ohio that I guess kind of got himself in trouble because him and his friends were driving around escorting people with a water gun. I guess they went onto a basketball court and intimidated these people, shot them with the water gun, and guns today are scary. So I guess they got so scared that they ended up killing the guy. Pretty bad. So that's so much in the New York Post. There are some sports stories, but not as relevant as the things that are affecting people's lives, like inflation and gas prices. It looks like I was right yesterday that the market was going to definitely crash. Fortunately, I did hedge against it and bought some volatility ETFs and did okay. So I'm not tremendously upset about the fall today. Big story, I think, is Mexico stepping up and acting a little bit heavy in terms of managing private companies, and that is that at gunpoint they closed down a gas refinery. So this is in Monterrey, Mexico, and it says for the past 20 years, a 1,100 megawatt power plant owned by Spain's Iberdrola outside Mexico industrial capital has been kept lights on for scores of companies such as brewing giant Heineken, despite winter freezing, hurricane, and occasional brush fire. But January, the gas-fired plant forcibly shut down by Mexican government. And supposedly these things happen at gunpoint, so it's not real pleasant. Again, I've reported that communism and heavy-handed government is really moving through South America. I think that it's something we should pay attention to. There were 31 white nationalists arrested in Idaho. So that's a pretty serious thing. We should not allow that to happen if they're going to be violent. But getting on to the stock market, which is my thing. I'm actually at the airport right now. That's why you hear so much noise. On my way to Ireland to go to a stockholders meetings for Iterum Therapeutics. As far as what's happening in the market right now, there's a lot of fear because no one knows really exactly what the Federal Reserve is going to do. Although at the end of the day, the Wall Street Journal broke a story saying that there would be a 75-point base hike, which kind of satisfies a lot of people's desire. They wanted a lot more done regarding managing inflation, and you're going to have a 75 basis point rise. Supposedly the market had already priced that in, so I think tomorrow we're going to have a bit of a rally, or at least a calming. I'm thinking I'm buying the SVIX because that typically goes up when there's some calm in the market.
Go ahead.
I would say that the Fed is in a tough spot, but it's their own fault. They politicized the Fed, as I said yesterday, and that's a problem. Apparently there's no relief in the gas price. They're talking about oil going to 140, although it had dropped to 118 today. Again, I own some oil stocks. I hope it does do me well, but it's hurting so many families with the price of gas. It now tops $5.
Well, I don't know if I want. Get all that in a minute.
There's some minuscule stories in here. Again, COVID, Ukraine war create new challenges for the WTO, the World Trade Organization. I think, again, with Ukraine, I can't emphasize enough that we should be providing them with everything they need, and we should probably have boots on the ground in Ukraine, or at least planes in the air. It's not going to help us if Ukraine falls, and right now it seems like it's a strong possibility that most of the politicians are just going to wait until it does fall. Let's see what else we got here. Macron's getting a little trouble from the left, and he's under a lot of pressure. Seems like the Pope might retire. I don't think that relative to the markets it has anything to do with anything, since there's such a high amount of atheists in America today. Again, McDonald's has reopened in Russia under a different name, so it's a big write-off for McDonald's this year. Hopefully McDonald's will bring back the dollar menu and their stock will go up. I read an interesting article today about being able to calculate how much time you actually have left. And the sub-headline here is, when you do the math, it really hits. After 2 life-changing years, decisions on how we spend our hours feel weightier. So just like, what are you going to do in your life? what's important to you. Me personally, I would like to be playing with my grandchild, but you got to give privacy to your kids, and I happen to be in a doghouse right now in terms of that, so I'm being punished, banned from my grandchild, at least temporarily. I was a bad guy in Florida at Disney World. I like what Apple's doing, by the way, in terms of ending passwords. They're going to use passkeys, one that's on a server and one that you have, and then with your Face ID. That to me should be used across the board. I hope that technology is allowed everywhere, because I'm sick of passwords. Let's see, what else? That's pretty much nothing. Let's get over here. Beijing is building up their nuclear warheads. Wow, go figure. Maybe Beijing is an enemy. Maybe Beijing and Russia are working together, as we've discussed so many times. Here's a story that affects me, okay? So I have about 600,000 Jasmy coin, Jasmy. And that coin is a Japanese cryptocurrency, which is regulated by the Japanese. The yen is getting killed. So if you are watching crypto coins today, you would have seen that Jasmy held up pretty well. I think because the Japanese and other Asians are buying the Jasmy coin to try to maintain some value. I like Jasmy coin, makes a lot of sense to me. The Japanese yen getting slaughtered because for years and years and years they kept interest rates low. We may say something similar with the US dollar. Let's see. Of course, we know the food prices are going crazy. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, some movies coming out. Nothing big there. It's a big news day, believe me. If you're watching the markets, which really is relevant to the entire world. If you're not watching the markets, and if you're not investing, you don't know what's coming down the road. There's a lot of people moving towards quantum technology. I didn't really read this story, but quantum computing, which promises to significantly increase processing speeds, is years away from full-scale commercial development, but some financial service firms are turning to quantum-inspired technology for interim benefits.